There we go. Hello! Tell me if this works, because I have no idea. Hey everybody, welcome to the stream today. I'm hoping I'm live right now. I'm using a new piece of software, so I have to see if, it's gone through. So, please, in the chat, friends, tell me if you've seen anything. I'm trying out a bit more fancy of a program, using something called, well, I was using OBS, but I guess there's a new version that's got all the fun things and Streamlabs and everything like that. So now I get to do all that stuff for you. Woot, woot, woot. Alright. I'm visible. Nice. Alright. The chat seems... okay. The chat in the program doesn't seem to work. Besides that, everything seems good. Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. My name is Tristan, and this is a normally a countdown thing where I talk to you guys before a new quick step video comes out at the end of the hour. But this weekend's been kind of, well, between me getting distracted a little bit and how busy the weekend was, the video's not done yet, so I'll be doing this stream, and then right afterwards I'll be rushing to get it out on time. So, you know, that's a thing. I'm on it. I'm working on it, friends. It'll be out tonight, as soon as it's done. I've got the notes for it right here, so I'm all good to go. Quick steps don't take very long, so you'll be alright. So that answers the first question I think I got. So what's the second question? What did you think of Slavoj versus Peterson? I didn't think much of it at all. I don't really like either of them, so I didn't watch the debate. If I remember the night the debate happened, I went out with my friends and did fun stuff. From what I heard, Zizek was really deferential, and they talked too much about what they agreed on, and Peterson showed that he basically read the Communist Manifesto, and that's like his entirety of reading Marx, and he did it like right before the debate started. So that's lazy. But yeah, that is not a thing that I would be proud of, especially if you spend your entire life talking about how bad Marx is. But either way, Slavoj Žižek, who is known for doing lots of racisms, writing articles about the leftist case for Eurocentrism and weird things like that. I don't really like Slavoj Žižek that much. So seeing the two of them debate was not something I was super interested in. And also, what was the point of the debate? When people do debates on the internet too, I don't understand what the actual point of it is. It feels like it'd be different if it was a debate where two sides of an argument came together in order to either convince the other party or come to some sort of third conclusion, but you knew that wasn't going to happen. So this is sort of just one of those really lame, almost like pro wrestling storyline where they're just going to debate and then people will think, hey, who won? And nothing gets pushed forward, no one makes any progress, and it was really just a way for two public intellectuals with struggling careers to try and get more attention for themselves, which, you know, I didn't think was all that great. That's just me. Alright. What are your thoughts on Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk? I don't know who that is. The point of the debate was so we could show how illiterate Peterson is on the subject of Marxism. I mean, I guess, but what do Jordan Peterson obviously agreed to do it, and Jordan Peterson's fans were probably watching the debate like a hawk as well, so I don't know what what was the point of that? Like, what did they think it was about? I don't know. In my mind, the debate was a pointless exercise to try and get them attention. And Slavoj Žižek showed that he's a lot more reactionary than a lot of people think he is. And then second, Jordan Peterson showed that he's functionally, he doesn't know anything about one of the most important social theorists of the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. So, there's that. Okay. Whew. Peterson thinks dictatorship of the proletariat literally means killing all the rich people and picking some working class people to be dictators. Yeah, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Just shows that he just took an extremely literal and simple surface level meaning of what the word means and then put it together. It just shows like Jordan Peterson's whole intellectual background is from a field of psychology that has been discredited since the 1950s, and using academic sounding language to basically justify his conservative Christian reactionary views, and it's completely empty. I think the Thoughts Line video is actually pretty good at calling out that he's very, very intellectually dishonest and just kind of blank. And the only thing where I disagree with some of my colleagues on BreadTube is that I find more of an issue that people keep giving him attention. You notice I didn't make a Jordan Peterson debate video, and the one Jordan Peterson video I did make, I deleted for various reasons. But in my mind, I think that he's a person who the outrage from his detractors is the only thing that gives Peterson any attention or gives him his credibility amongst his reactionary base fans. And that, I'm still under the impression that his 15 minutes should have been up a long time ago. And just because he's an easy public figure to point out the issues in his work, we keep doing it over and over again instead of just letting him fade into obscurity, because we still haven't learned that there are 3 levels of conversation, and the highest tier of conversation is ideas, second tier of conversation is about events, and the lowest tier of conversation is about people. And we keep just talking about Jordan Peterson, and his ideas have been beaten to death. I don't know. I feel like we should stop giving him attention and focus on, ideas and events. That's just me. Alright. What do we got next? Did you hear about the new Ukrainian president and how he is an actor who played as president on a TV show, and his party name is the same as the show he was on? That would be really weird. That'd be like if Martin Sheen ran for president as the Democratic Party. And you know what? There's some donut Twitter people who would probably be on board for that. They'd be like, yeah, Martin Sheen, let's bring back our West Wing dreams. And it's like, you realize he's not the character he played on TV. You know nothing of Martin Sheen. I don't know. It's just an example. That's ridiculous, though. Is that true? Please tell me that's not true. Oh, man. He won the election by a landslide, like 77%. This... What? Everything is breaking. My brain is broken right now. Jeez. That's the worst. Alright. What are your thoughts on Shop and Save strike? 31,000 employees won major concessions. Well, I didn't know too much about that. Obviously, I've been a little checked out for the last couple of weeks due to travel and getting myself caught up. But if that's a thing, a successful strike always makes me happy. So that's good. I'm very happy about that. Shop and stop. That's cool. I think it's really good. I think it's good that that kind of stuff's going on. The fact that people are striking again and that people are talking about making unions and such, I think that that's very good news. And I'm glad that it is a thing that is on our horizon. Is it true that in the 1400s, Native North Americans treated the crime of rape much more seriously than did Europeans at the same time period? That would not surprise me. A lot of the people who lived in 15th century North America were living in a lot smaller communities, and I feel like crimes like that could be treated much harsher in a society that is much more small, much more tribal and insular, which makes sense. But either way, like, I don't have any... While I say that makes sense, I don't have exactly, like... if you just check in the book, page 216, we have, like, this dug-up evidence about this. Like, I don't have anything like that. I'm not an archaeologist. I am just a fan. But that's cool. I wish that was... I hope... it's interesting to find out. I got a question. How are you doing? Well, Emperor Alexander, I'm doing okay. I feel like, as somebody who has attention deficit hyperactive disorder and somebody who has issues with staying on track with things, the way that I keep my life in check is by being extremely regimented and being very, like, on routine for everything that I do. And I sort of lose out on... or at least just I always lose out on things about when I'm not organized. And ever since the trip, which, really, going on vacation's great, but it did throw my schedule completely off. And then this weekend, where I've been sleeping in and doing a lot of stuff, has sort of thrown my entire well-oiled machine for a loop, and that has resulted in me feeling not so great and having not so awesome productivity. It's also the time when the weather is changing, which means that when that happens, I get a lot of headaches, and so I've got one right now, and after the stream, I'll probably have to take myself take some Advil and take a little snooze before I make my quick step for the day. So I'm in a little bit of chaos. I guess what's it called? I guess as Jordan Peterson would say, I've embraced too much of the feminine, and now I'm in chaos, and everything is horrible. Because Jordan Peterson is a real woman understander. That one. So I am at the moment a little bit of a mess. I'm sure it's coming through in the stream just perfectly. So, apologies for that to all my wonderful fans. That's the reason why, I got distracted by Dwarf Fortress and bad sleep, and so that's, why, for example, there's no quick step until later today, because I was probably supposed to film it on Friday or something like that, but then things got in the way. And most of the time, what got in the way was me, which, that's wonderful. That's frustrating as hell. When you have ADHD, you are more frustrated with yourself than I think anybody else is. So, working on it. Hopefully, I can get the quick step out. I have the script for a main step back video that comes out Friday, and so my hope is that I'll finish this quick step today, and I'll make some progress, and I'll film the step back video tonight, and then I'm in editing mode, and we go back to work on Tuesday, and everything will get back into order, and I will be more functional again. That's the hope. It's the longest answer, and the question was, how are you doing? What Jordan Peterson debate, I think we were talking about Slavoj Žižek, who is a cult. What is it, like? He's like a philosopher, a Marxist philosopher, based out of Slovenia, and he's pretty famous because he says a lot of weird things and he acts strange. And he looks like a disheveled homeless individual who shows up to intellectual debates, and writes articles about the leftist case for Eurocentrism, and he tends to refer to movies for analysis rather than like things going on in the world, and he agrees to give people like Jordan Peterson a platform, and I think he's a darling of like 8chan people. So that's who debated Jordan Peterson, I think last Friday, I want to say, and I don't know. I didn't see the debate. All I've got is like secondhand reports from Twitter, and the reports were basically that Slavoj Žižek agreed with Peterson on a lot of things, which is disappointing, and that Peterson showed that he really doesn't know anything, or anything about Marx, or most things. It seems he has like this. He lives in his kind of own little world of Jungian psychology and this whole convoluted concept of archetypes and evolutionary psychology and other fields of science that no psychologist has taken seriously in a very long time. All right, what we got next? He also kept conflating managers and capitalists when he was trying to make the argument that capitalists are useful to society. Well, there you go. Okay. What's next? The Cognitive Society did a really good breakdown on Peterson's misunderstandings of Marxism. A lot of people have. I'm sure it's great. Do you believe that the right is trying to twist Antifa's original core values? I mean, definitely what, like... definitely, like, what is now popularly conceived of as Antifa, is not what Antifa is. Antifa is an anti-fascist organization that is designed to take down fascists. But since we live in a society where anti-fascists are the real fascists, they've been the word, like anytime a political term enters into American political discourse, starts to get twisted to mean whatever people want it to mean, and then it just sort of, we enter into the weird world about how we live in a weird, we just live in a weird world where everything in American political discussion usually means something very different than what it means everywhere else, and it looks like Antifa is going to join that. Fun times. Now, what's it called? Now you can scare dads on YouTube who yell at cameras in their car that Antifa super soldiers are going to kill all the capitalists or something like that. I think that's kind of amusing, but besides that, Mahir Inan, thoughts on Syria's future? Oh boy, now that's a fun one. Honestly, right now we're kind of in the situation where Syria looks like, due to not so much strong resistance from Washington and a lot of effort from Moscow, that Syria is probably going to get put back together under Bashar al-Assad's leadership. What country he will have in the wake of such a long and violent and brutal civil war is anybody's guess. It's going to be very unstable. He's probably going to have to make a lot of very interesting concessions to just keep the country together in some capacity. I don't know where that's going to go, but the main issue that Syria and Iraq both have is that they are artificially created countries by European powers that draw random borders through different tribes, ethnicities, religious groups, and really the only types of powers that can keep them together, especially because these are not countries that the West would allow to be democracies, because, can't have that, are usually these like strongman dictators. And so I don't know. I mean, there's the pessimist in me says that Syria is just going to continue to see so we're just going to continue to see unrest and violence as new dictators play Game of Thrones in Syria. The optimist in me would be that at some point Iraq and Syria would be able to come together in some capacity. One sec, I gotta mute my mic. So in that case, there would be, hey, look, I just got a new subscriber. Isn't that neat? I just got that, so I don't exactly know what it does. But either way, hopefully Iraq and Syria will be able to get themselves together and at some point be able to have a grown-up discussion about what the future looks like, and especially trying to undo the sort of damage created by the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which is honestly the result of a lot of the damage in the world. That's where I'm sitting. All right. I've heard people justify burqa bans by saying Muslim women face so much peer pressure that we can't view them from opting to wear veils as a genuine free choice. What do you say to that? Man, you ask me so many questions that are like, you say that Islamophobia is bad, but is it? That's an unfair painting of that. But like, you've got a real bugbear about women wearing religious headgear, and burqas. Okay, so first of all, when you talk about like extreme pressure to wear burqas in Western countries, when Stephen Harper tried to make it basically a crime to wear a niqab, not even a burqa, or not a burqa, but a niqab, and wear one when they were swearing into their ceremony, which is now a thing that you have to do. You have to take it off in order to become a citizen. That is, it's just like, I'm trying to think how to articulate this. It targets, like, that targeted like 3 people. I think that when you and with burqas it would be even rare. Like, if there are more than 10 people in, say, Canada who wear a burqa, I would be surprised. They're very uncommon, and that's not the point of those bans. Because the numbers are small enough that they can be done on ad hoc bases. And for women who wear niqabs, which are a bit more common, they, like, from what, from the statement you put out, like, that people justify it by saying women are so peer pressured. Well, I will say that that's not what the data says. I read a book when I was working on research for a video I made for my job, and it showed that women who wear religious headdress do so out of personal religious reasons and not so much from peer pressure from their families. That is a minority of cases. And that, like, you can see things like women who, there was an uptick in the wearing of, like, the hijab, as an example, when 9/11 happened, because it was an act of solidarity in the face of Islamophobia. And on top of that, it's not even always a religious thing. It could be an identity thing, like niqab, hijab, and less burqa, but niqab and hijab wearing can also be linked to Arab identity, because those are pretty much the places where it's most common, and even then, it's not that common in a lot of the countries. And so sometimes it's an act of religious devotion, akin to wearing a cross around your neck, or sometimes it's an act of, ethnic identity or something like that. I don't know. To me, it's like, do we do like, wearing crucifix bans because like, I don't know. There you go. You might have read a book, but they have massive amounts of idle speculation from white male atheists. There you go. That's basically what we're talking about here. But keep in mind that these laws, while they usually only apply to a very small amount of people, are not, like, they're not designed with that. That's not the focus. The focus is on telling these people, or sending a message that this religion's not welcome here. These are laws that are put in place by governments that are trying to get more energy from their base by doing a simple law that would be an act of cruelty against a religious minority that will get their base happy and will also get them more, get their base worked up. And that law usually doesn't result in them ever having to do anything, which is also nice, except for the police harassing a few Muslim women when they want to, like, go out in public or something, or get on a bus while wearing a religious headgear. And on top of that, like, do you really think, even if women are wearing a religious headgear like a niqab, from pressure from their family, then why does this law get put in place? Like, this law is only going to punish them, because even if, like, you are, like, immigrants from, say, Saudi Arabia, and you have this extremely conservative family that, in the face of all of the Islamophobia and hatred and all the stuff that's going on the outside, that the family still insists on forcing women to wear a niqab if they want to go outside. Like, say, like, that exists. You think that if there's a niqab ban, that the then turn of action is, well, I guess you can now go outside without your headdress on. No, it's probably going to result in them being allowed to go out less in general, in public, which is, like, even worse. And so I don't like it. I don't see there's no upside. It's just a way to stoke the fires of hatred for political hay. All right. Hello, some random geek. I see a waving hand. Hello. Okay. Opinions on Julian Assange's situation. Will Pompeo and Trump hang him? Will Bernie get in office in time to protect him? That's an interesting question. I don't know too much about... So I know... Okay. So while I was on vacation, Julian Assange got arrested. I thought that's what my quick step was going to be about. And then, like, I had my pick of so many like bananas things that happened while in the last couple weeks that I chose a different one that was a little bit more low key. That I thought was one that wasn't talked about to death already, and so that's gonna be that's my my next. What is a Canadian swearing-in ceremony? I'll put that on the list. I don't want to get distracted from this question. So I think that the Julian Assange situation is really shitty. I think that the Ecuadorian embassy, which protected him for 7 years, just went back on their things because they thought that WikiLeaks leaked something to do with the Ecuadorian government, and on top of that, he was apparently a really shitty roommate for the Ecuadorian embassy, and so those two things together, led to his being kicked out. But the laws that the U.S. is pursuing have to do with Chelsea Manning and hacking computers. And, we all know what he's going down for. Disobeying the empire. And it's going to... I do worry that he's going to get taken down. He's going to be put in a black box and no one will ever see him again. He's going to get tortured relentlessly until basically he gives up everything that he knows in order to make WikiLeaks fall apart. Hopefully, Julian Assange was smart enough to have anticipated his getting arrested and has set things in place so that if he ever gets arrested, that WikiLeaks has a way to sort of cut him out of the system, which, given how good WikiLeaks is at protecting information and their whole data structure thing, I imagine that that's the case. They probably, I think I was even told about how they have how they had things in place in case he got arrested, so that's probably what's going to happen. And no matter how much they, torture him, he's not going to give up, or he's not going to be capable of giving up information about how things go down. And so that's likely to happen. And the law that he's being brought down upon is a attack on journalism, and in clear violation of what it means to do, adversarial investigative journalism, which is scary. Not unheard of. A lot of people who are acting as if this is the first time that they've ever done this, but it's a pretty huge thing. It's a pretty big deal, and it's depressing. And I really don't like that this is how it's at. This is how it's all shaking out. But as I say all those things, nothing I'm saying is all that unique. This is why I'm not doing a quick step about it, because what I'm saying right now is what everyone's been saying, and so I don't really have anything new to contribute to it. And so that's why that's not what you're going to get today. That's all I have to say about that. It really sucks, and I hope that it works out. I hope that Sanders can save him, because Sanders' thing is that he will be prosecuted. But Sanders said that the service that he did... No, that was Edward Snowden. Never mind. So I don't know, because I don't even know if Sanders would be super cool with him. But, yeah. I know this isn't a really good sage statement, but I honestly don't know what's going to come out of all this. I hope Sanders will rise to the occasion. Who I honestly think is the most likely person to be the next president, which is kind of nice to think about. What do you know about Rojava? Not as much as some other people who are on YouTube, but it's a group of Kurdish people who live in Syria that have started up this sort of libertarian socialist society, in the chaos of the Syrian civil war, that Turkey is pretty much like dead set on making sure that they are not successful. And now that the civil war is coming to an end, that Syria will probably not be super down with keeping them together either. And so I don't imagine I imagine their days are numbered, and that'll be really tragic when that happens. All right. This week I had to call someone to tell them that I'd seen their missing cat get hit by a car. If that was your cat, would you want to know? Yeah. Yeah, when you have a cat missing, in some ways, just not knowing is the worst part. Like, I'll tell you a story. I had a cat. It's like when I was living at home, my parents always had cats. They don't anymore, but we always did. And we had, we like let our cats outside a lot, which I don't do with my cats. One of my cats went missing and never came back. And there was no point in doing like a lost cat campaign because he was just like a black cat. Like, no one was going to find him. Or, and on top of that, he was chipped. So if he got picked up by like the Humane Society, it would lead back to us. But we lived at the edge of town, so our suspicion is that he probably got hit by a car. He got eaten by coyotes or something. But honestly, I don't know. To this day, I don't know. And I think that in my mind, not knowing is worse. Sorry that you had to see a cat get hit by a car, though. That's really tragic. What's a Canadian swearing-in ceremony? That is basically, I'm sure you do this in the UK too. When somebody immigrates and becomes a citizen of a country, they do a swearing-in ceremony. It's usually done on, like everybody who became a citizen that year will do a ceremony in the city that they're in on Canada Day, where they will, or you can do it in private, but there's public ones because there's like a point of pride in this. And basically, when you're sworn in as a citizen, you just say, I declare allegiance to, Canada and the Queen and whatnot and whatnot. It's like it's a formality, but it's a thing that you have to do, even if it's private. And the thing that happened is that Stephen Harper passed a law, and it's still in the books now, that you can't have your face obscured when you're doing that. Which, when that happened, the law has come into effect for. It came into effect in 2012, and or maybe in 2013 or something like that. And since it has been put in place, 2 women have had to, who could not go to a public ceremony to swear themselves to become Canadians. They had to do a private ceremony in which they had a female attendant so that they could show their face while they're pledging allegiance to Canada. Very embarrassing, very demeaning of their culture and their background. And it was just put in place, and it affected so few people that it's like obvious that it was put in place to just tell, especially because it's about citizenship. It's basically to say Muslims are not welcome in Canada as citizens. That's like very much what that's the message. Again, that's what a lot of these laws end up doing. They don't end up really. They do change policy, but not for enough people that it's like a huge law. But what it ends up doing is just stating the values of the government, and the values of the government are that they're shit. Thoughts on Mueller's report? From what's come out about the Mueller report, it shows that there was probably no criminal conspiracy, mostly because of ineptitude on the part of the Trump like group. But on top of that, but that seems too simple. But the fact that there's a good case for an obstruction of justice charge that nobody's pursuing makes me a little sad, and that there's definitely impeachable stuff that's come out in even the stuff that has not been redacted. But honestly, like when it comes to things like that, like I don't see it convincing the people it needs to convince. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to make the Republicans turn on impeachment, and you have a Republican Senate, so the Republicans are not going to push for impeachment proceedings, so that's not going anywhere. And on top of that, I don't think for a lot of the, Trump's voter base that it's going to change all that much. The Mueller report and like the whole Russia thing was never going to change the minds of your average Joe who voted for Trump. So honestly, like, it's interesting, and it shows just how fragile and useless the Trump White House is, but it's not. I don't know if it's going to just I don't know if it's going to go anywhere in a big way. Maybe he'll get sent to Sweden in a Holiday Inn jail. I doubt it. This is not they're not. I don't know if I think Sweden quietly either dropped those charges or something happened with them, because this is not about if it was about the Swedish rape charges, I might have been a little bit more because that stuff that stuff is hell yeah, Julian Assange is kind of a dick for that. Not kind of a dick. He's like a monster for the things that he is accused of doing. But this is not about the Swedish rape charges. This is about computer hacking and stuff like that. So he's never gonna do it. So if you're atheist, does that mean that the year/time metric of BC and AD is wrong? No. I mean, honestly, I don't particularly to me, it doesn't really matter that much. I say BCE and CE, which, according to the American Historical Association, is the standard. The reason why is just because it's the most inclusive. That's literally all I'm doing. And honestly, labeling years with before Christ and in the year of our Lord just feels a little antiquated. So, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. All right. Let's see what's next. What do you think it would take for the U.S. military to rebel against the government? Oh boy. I honestly don't know. The U.S. military is so huge. They would be. I don't know. I don't know that much. I don't know too much about how the U.S. military works, but yeah, U.S. is an unstable state, but it's not in the state where you end up with coups and stuff. Not yet, anyway. All right. What corporate Democrat could actually pose a threat to Bernie? Joe Biden. He's polling better than Bernie Sanders, and he's expected to declare that he's entering the race this week. Now, Joe Biden has the best chance just because he's got more name recognition. I do think that Joe Biden is one of those people like every other previous... what's it called? Like every other previous administration, or every time he's tried to run, he's going to say something dumb and get himself booted out of the race. And so I don't think that he's long for the campaign. And also, in my mind, I think that once the debates start and people start articulating their ideas, that Sanders will jump out of the field for just having strong positions. I can totally see the when everyone says Medicare for all, and then you get the debate question, well, what does Medicare for all mean for you? And then, like, you see Kamala Harris and Buttigieg and Biden and all of them say, like, well, Medicare for all means, universal access to affordable health care for some. And then, like, once they, like, start to, like, qualify and try to weasel back from losing from their, like, health insurance donors, then Sanders will jump ahead in a pretty big way. I feel like there's just the way that it's working right now. It's like there's Sanders and everyone else, and the rest of the other Democrats are like, besides Biden, are just like struggling to penetrate. The debates might change things. You can always be surprised by the debates, but the way things are looking now, that it's going to be everyone versus Bernie, and I think that most Democrats right now are on Bernie's side more than, like, the Pod Save America people who will back literally anyone but Sanders. How much you know about the upcoming elections in Europe? I don't know much except that, Karl Gahn is running for, Karl Gahn is running, and he, like, has already said that rape jokes are fine in front of journalists. So, that's all I know about the European elections going on right now. Yeah. Do you think the DNC will backstab Bernie? Oh, that is actually a good question. I'm going to put that on the list. Just a second. I don't want to leave people out, and we are quickly running out of time, so I got to pick up the pace. Suppose the U.S. had actually tried to rebuild Iraq, i.e. with local involvement, instead of just selling it to corporations. Do you think it would have worked, i.e. like Japan in the 1950s? I actually read a book exactly like that. Let me just get it for you. There is... I think the book is called Cultures of War by John W. Dower, D-O-W-E-R. That is a book that exactly makes that comparison about the rebuilding of Iraq versus the rebuilding of Japan, which was done under kind of like New Deal Democrat principles, versus like Iraq, which was done under like neoliberal type of stuff. And yeah, I definitely think that Iraq would be in a much better shape today if it had been done under New Deal things. Or by somebody who wasn't, reading about the difference between Shia and Sunni Islam while on the plane over from America. Like, the other thing, too, is that not only did, like, the United States sell Iraq's resources to American corporations, but on top of that, the U.S., on top of all of that, the people that were hired to be in charge of rebuilding Iraq were people who had absolutely no clue about what Iraq was like and the realities on the ground and the forces at play and things like that, which was just like the most famous one is that the person who was in charge of running Iraq, one of the first people brought over, literally read a book about was reading a book about Iraq while flying over because he had no idea about what was going on. Keep in mind, like, all right, I know that you guys, a lot of you guys are much more into European history than Middle Eastern history, so I'll give you a comparison. Say if after the breakup of Yugoslavia, the West intervened and set up a person who had never studied Eastern European history in his life, who was reading a book on Slavic history while on the flight over, and his job was to take Yugoslavia that had just broken up and put it back together in a way that functioned. And imagine just how well that would have turned out. And that was basically like, because like I've done this. A lot of you guys here are stream veterans, and I have said many times that that Yugoslavia and Iraq have a lot of comparisons, and I think that that Milosevic and Tito Tito and Saddam Hussein have a lot of comparisons too. So, because Iraq is a country that was artificially made by the British in the 1930s in order to create a mandate in the region. Yeah, Sir Zhao Zhao was pointing out about how the person who drew the border between India and Pakistan had never been to India and didn't have access to good stats on the populations. Yep, that's true too. If you guys keep tabs on the Cold War channel, I don't know if you guys are subscribed to that, but there's a channel called the Cold War, run by the people who run Kings and Generals. Hey, I got a dinghy sound. What does that dinghy mean? A new subscriber. Oh, that's awesome. Maybe I should turn it off for subscribers. Either way, good times. So, yeah. Iraq is a mess. Oh yeah. So if you're subscribed to the Cold War channel, I've written several videos for that channel, and I'll be writing some more. So take a look. So definitely get on that, because I have 2 videos I've written for the Cold War are already out, and I have another one that they're filming, and I have another one that I'm starting up pretty soon. And I'll be making more over the years, because I am basically the person in charge of all the America stuff. Alright. Thoughts on the Australian election in May 2019? I don't know the first thing about it, but Australia is a scary country with scary people, with scary opinions. So I am terrified about what could come out of that. Thoughts on the PEI election? I did not know there was a PEI election, but if it goes any way, the way that the Quebec election, the Ontario election, and now the Alberta election have come out, also terrifying. And I really, I don't know what terrifying Anne of Green Gables right-wing monster is going to become the premier of PEI, but yeah. All right. Okay, let's see. Take on Sri Lanka. I've heard that there was. I heard about it. There's a massive terrorist attack, a coordinated terrorist attack against, I guess, Easter worshippers, like Christian groups targeted against Christian groups in Sri Lanka. I know that there are right-wing, there are hyper right-wing people that are likely to win, that are likely to try and get political points off of it, because it was probably, an Islamist terrorist group that was targeting Christians, to justify more Islamophobia and invoke more violence against Muslims in the West. Honestly, yeah, Islamist terrorism is definitely a threat and definitely something to be worried about. I don't know, though, that much about the details on the ground. I'm not a Sri Lankan historian, and Sri Lanka, I imagine that the Christian and Muslim communities of Sri Lanka have a long and complicated history that this plays into, that I am not like a right-wing reactionary content creator, and so I would not wade into a conversation that I know nothing about and try to say something. Hey, Laura. Glad you could catch this one live. All right. Is it true that Jason Kenney is a homophobic partisan hack? Well, partisan is a hard one because it's the United Conservative Party's first election, but yeah, it's definitely bad. All right. I have 6 minutes and 9 questions, so I think I'm going to put a pause on grabbing new questions, and I'm just going to answer these ones real quick. Do you think the Republicans would back impeachment if Trump literally murdered someone on camera? Oh, maybe not. Honestly, with the Mitch McConnell school of politics, probably not. Maybe if the army rebels, we'll end up with barrack presidents. Don't know what that means, but yeah, I could definitely. If the military's turning on the American president, some like serious shit's gone down. Let's just say that. That's like, that's going to be a huge change in the story. Do you think the DNC will backstab Bernie? Yes. I think I said this on a stream before, but nobody catches all these streams, so that makes sense. The optimist in me will think that the partisan Democrats will see the winds change, or see the winds changing, do a nice big shot of whiskey and realize that the days of serving capital are behind them, and begrudgingly back Sanders, hoping to capitalize on his message for a future campaign, kind of catching, riding the political headwinds. The more drunk that you would get me, though, would range from centrists breaking from the Democrats to push a third-party run, maybe with Howard Schultz. You get me shit-faced, and I would say that the Democrats will assassinate Bernie Sanders if he wins. Really, I hope that they just they make the strategic choice once they finally give in, and that they'll go for it. All right. What about Yang? I don't see much in Yang. Yang is a joke. Thoughts on Japanese xenophobia? I don't know a ton about it. I know that Japan has become more right-wing and nationalist lately, and that is in the face of perceived threats from China, which is scary. You definitely don't want that flaring up. Did you watch the Zizek Peterson debate? No, I have not. I might watch it someday, but I honestly don't have that much interest in it. Thoughts on the NHL playoffs? Since you're Canadian and whatnot, I did not even know that the playoffs had started. My guess is that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to lose. That's my only guess. Let's put my point. Good old-fashioned social democracy could have saved a country as fractured of Iraq to work in Japan and was already unified. Maybe. I feel like Iraq has a lot more deeper fractures going on than Japan did at the time. The Leafs lost Game 6. There you go. See, I know so much about hockey. If you just assume the Leafs are going to lose, you will win. You will guess correctly. Is it really accurate to call the NHS socialized medicine if it's run by the UK's government rather than the people? Not really, but socialized medicine is a snarl word made up by the Reagan administration to attack Canadian healthcare, so I don't think it really works either. Did you see the Discord comment I made about simulating history in VR being unethical? No, I have not, because I have been a living hot mess for the last 4 days. So alright, we are coming to the end. I'm going to stop the stream in just a minute. I want to let you know that there is not going to be a quick step that comes out right at 2 o'clock because I am dreadfully behind on making them. So I'm going to record that now and hopefully get it up for you tonight. So, yeah, sorry about that. ADHD is a hell of a drug, and I've really fallen off the wagon the last couple of weeks. So I'm getting my life back together. I will have a quick step for you tonight, and then I'm also working on a regular step back video for Friday. So keep frosty, keep watching. And I will see you guys on Tuesday, so tomorrow. I even worked out, Thought Slime and I had a conversation, and so we're actually going to coordinate so that our streams don't overlap like they did last week. So we're going to work that out. All right, guys. You're not Islamophobic. Yes, I know. Okay. See y'all guys tomorrow or wherever great things are sold. See you later, friends.